That moves us to the discussion agenda. First up, we have the discussion of board policy, IC school year, 2-year calendar approval. Ms. Taylor?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. This year we are going to try something new and present to the board 2 academic years of calendars at the same time for approval. So in this instance, it would be years 26-27 and 27-28. A lot of districts are moving to this right now just because of the flexibility it provides to families for planning, travel, those sorts of things. So I am just presenting this opportunity for you all to look at our academic calendar, school year board policy, and hear any feedback you may have regarding any changes that may need to be made.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Just clarify, this is, we're going to be doing 2 years of the calendar instead of the 1 year?
Yes, sir, that's
Y'all
correct.
trying to get me 2 years of trouble all at once.
As we read the policy, we're able to do it. We just wanted to bring it to this body to see if you felt like it needed an amendment. If not, we would move forward with presenting to this body 2 calendars. You still have, again, under the policy, the right to approve one or both, but we just wanted to, for today only, for discussion only, look at the policy and see did it needed amendments before we went in that direction.
Dr. Ross, I'm wondering if, while we're at it, the legislature passed that, or I don't know if it was the legislature or the Department of Ed, where the board can designate additional weather days. Would that be something, if we make this change, it would be worth adding?
Yes,
because
ma'am.
it does mention the
Sure.
makeup days and all of that.
It does. Yes, ma'am, it does. I think that would be an appropriate place to add that for sure.
And we could put calendars, parentheses,
Calendar,
calendars.
parentheses, S, we
Yeah.
can do that. The other question I did have regarding this is that it says the superintendent will bring the calendar in the spring of each year. Typically, we, for earlier planning purposes, have begun doing that in the fall. Is certainly your discretion how we handle that. Do we take out a season and just say the superintendent will present the calendar each year, or something to that effect, however you all feel about that?
The other one I'm wondering if we need to change is it says the district will not begin classes for students prior to the 3rd Monday in August. I think we need to change that.
That is, if I understand it correctly, a section of state law that we have to adhere to unless
But
we
we're
do
modified.
the modified academic.
That's
So
correct.
that's the,
So could we maybe even say we're modified, because aren't we? Or
We're
we
I'm
could
listening.
quote that statutory language that we begin after the 3rd Monday unless we are observing a modified
yeah,
academic.
while we're at it, I'd probably suggest that, because I'm afraid somebody would look at this and say, oh, you can't start then.
That's right, yes,
because
ma'am.
That
technically
stood out
that
to
has
me
to
too.
stay.
I was waiting to ask about that as well.
Sure.
And I also am fine, Ms. Taylor, with not listing a season. I think you were looking for feedback on that.
Okay.
And what we have now is considered a modified.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Huddle, I remember the weather thing vaguely that you're talking about. Is that where we can decide if we want to give more days to make up for weather?
Yes. I think, was it the legislature added that?
That's correct. So the State Department guidance, I believe, allows us to bring to the board, after we have exhausted our makeup days, then it gives the board the opportunity to remove additional days, I believe up to 3 days.
I believe that's correct.
And then after that, it must go to the State Board of Education. So these are regs in the attendance policy.
Yes, sir.
So, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, just Dr. Ross, real quick, does this have any concerns, or do you have any concerns about this from an alignment with the budget? Because the budget's approved annually, but now we're approving a calendar for 2 years.
No, sir. We still will keep the budget to a 1 year. I think for us, we are getting early and earlier planners about the start of the school day. And I think so many things are kind of set out years apart. We're always behind the 8 ball in the start of the school day. So I just think it gives one part of the operations the ability to go and not be tied in to the start of the calendar. The other piece that I just wanted to share is through this policy, let's say, and I think Dr. Herron brought this point up, if you approve calendar A and B, and while you're in year A, you have a problem that we need to address calendar B, you still have the ability to change that before calendar B year starts. So we have that flexibility.
We would just do an amended calendar
do an
if
amended
an
calendar.
emergency situation came up.
But I again, to your point, I don't think this holds up the budget timeline. We would set that every year, just like we normally do.
Okay. All right, so Ms. Taylor, you'll just come back at the next meeting with the revisions that we already started
Yes,
discussing?
ma'am. We'll have first reading next meeting.
Yes, ma'am. All right, Ms. Taylor will remain as she talks about the discussion of board policy BE, school board meetings.
Yes, ma'am. This has to do with the new requirement from state law for the live streaming of board meetings, which we actually already do, but it needs to be reflected in our policy. So what the School Board Association has presented, if we can kind of talk about BE and BEA a little bit together, that board policy BE just referenced the requirement of live streaming, and then BEA really fleshes out the details of how we will do it, what's required, and using the model policies that have been provided by the State Department and the School Board Association.
So in BE, it's just a matter of you putting in that appropriate language. There's nothing else we need to do on the initial one.
No, ma'am. And, you know, it's up to the board if we provide clarity on which meetings need to be live streamed. And the model policy does list those. I'll just leave that to your discretion.
Snipes.
Yes, ma'am.
If we're going to update BE, we might want to just say meet twice monthly, not second or fourth, and just leave out various school locations, because we always meet here unless we decide otherwise, I'm just saying while we're at it, might want to make those changes.
Would that be easy to do if we only meet once a month in November, was it November, December, April, and May? So we've got some inconsistency.
It does say normally. I think it's fine because it says normally. I was
Okay.
just questioning the second and fourth because that
I
almost
get it.
never works out
I get it.
between holidays and everything else.
I'm fine with that.
So just put a period after twice monthly and
I had a question about the live streaming. So does this mean that the officers' meeting would be live streamed?
It is my interpretation that means that will be live streamed. All workshops, all committee meetings, that would have to be live streamed.
And just wondering if it has to be as, I hate to use the word professional, but I can't think of a better word, as formal as what we do here. In other words, could you just use Google Meet and use the record feature or something like? I just hate to have to go through I love you guys, but.
No, it's
you
a valid,
You know,
it's
so
a
just
valid
wondering.
question because the board officers' meetings are like 15 minutes. So, I mean, it's a valid question because that requires, staff time.
We could experiment with some different ways of doing it. I think Google Meet, that would be an interesting
And
strategy.
do they, I mean, I don't think they have to be recorded, do they, or do they? Is it just live streamed? Does it say they have to be
Is
recorded?
there was,
They do, they have to be posted
They have to
within
be
2
posted.
days.
Okay,
But you
can
can
still do that.
record. Mhm.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I would just suggest, I mean, I'm not there, but just, I hate wasting resources, and I would just suggest try it before it's required and see if there's a way to do it lower tech.
I would say, even though we're doing that, we still have people complaining, I can't be heard now, so I just, I don't know. I mean, one of the things I do worry about, and I'm just gonna put this out here, is we don't pay for this time. So we're using compensatory time for board meetings, meaning that the staff, who we love, they are giving up school time tomorrow. Now, they're gonna be here first thing in the morning because they have tickets to address. So how do we compensate them for this time? And I don't want this to be the straw that breaks the back.
Fridays off.
No, see, we need them Friday. So I think for us, we need to examine kind of the budgetary impact of this, because as soon as we go low tech, we're going to be accused that we can't hear or there's streaming problems. So I think we have to just look at a way of this. We can't comp. You know, I'm not going to throw anyone's name out. I'm just going to look at them, right? But they're either A, they're going to be here for unspecified amount of time that we don't know. We need our workshops, and so when we do that, we can't prepare for them to handle tickets the next day. The next day, the tech team needs to be handling tickets in the building. The communications team needs to be working on briefs. The security team needs to be securing buildings. The maintenance team needs to be maintaining the floors. If we have them at home because they're doing more time doing this, we have them away from doing the tasks that they're hired to do. So if we could look at overtime, because they're, I think, with the non-exempt employees, I just think in a budget that would be a nod to their work to be able to pay them for these times.
Oh, when I said off on Fridays, I meant like these people, I'm sorry. I was trying to get y'all a 3-day weekend. I don't have no idea how that works budget-wise, but if you work with Ms. Tucker and bring that forth and can tell us if we have the resources to do that, I'm sure we could discuss it. Oh, anybody else?
Yeah, and I mean, the other policy, the BEA, I mean, it even says Facebook Live, like as a possibility. I mean, so that's pretty low tech with some, yeah, microphones and, mhm.
Wasn't there, I think there was at least one board meeting during COVID that was completely remote, but we may not be allowed to do that, right? Do you still have to allow people to be in person?
Yes, ma'am.
So-
We would still allow
Yeah.
in person,
'Cause-
but offer a virtual option as well.
Because the microphones actually work very well when you're remote. It's when you're in person. So everybody
thinking
could
about
be
for
remote except
officers'
Dr.
meetings?
Ross. I'm just
Are you
kidding.
thinking about officers' meetings?
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying, if you've ever done Google Meet, if everybody's remote, you don't have the microphone issue. It's when everybody's in one room and you're trying to hear everybody over one connection. But it sounds like we have to have an in-person option for
That would
people.
have to, it has to be a public meeting, I would say, unless,
Yeah.
like COVID, there's an extenuating circumstance where.
Well, I wonder if we could ask if we could ask the state if people can watch live, does that constitute? I don't know, I just think it would be really easy for everybody if you didn't have to have an in-person meeting.
Anybody else? All right.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
we will bring some options for you next time.
All right, thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Taylor.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
That moves us to the discussion of board policy GCLE, unencumbered time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As as Dr. Turner approaches the lectern, I wanted to share that it is our wish to bring this action, or this motion, back to discussion for the next meeting. We are not at a place where we have a recommendation for action. We're still working on that. The purpose of discussion today of unencumbered is to look at 3 different policies that we're trying to merge into one recommendation. So again, as Dr. Turner approaches the lectern, I wanted her to go over the 3 that we're trying to converge and allow the administration to come back for discussion at the next board meeting with a recommendation for change of policy. So with that, Dr. Turner.
Thank you, Dr. Ross. Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Ross. The South Carolina General Assembly enacted a 1-year budget proviso. And this proviso requires district, where practical, to provide unencumbered time for school nurses. And so before you, what you have is our district's current policy, and you'll notice in that policy, it does not specifically reference nurses. And so that's the purpose of having the discussion, to determine how to update our current policy. Also before you in your packets, you received copies of 2 model policies. They're written differently. One is the model policy from the South Carolina Department of Education and the memorandum that they provided with the release of their model policy. And the second is the draft policy from the South Carolina School Boards Association. And so the purpose of tonight's discussion is just so that you can preview the differences in how the policies have been presented, and also be able to look at ours. And at this time, if you are in a position to share any discussion of the model policies that you'd like to have administration consider before we bring a recommendation forward, we are in a position to receive that discussion.
Mr. Satterfield?
So this is directed at the nurses, school nurses, correct?
Yes.
Have we, having dealt with school nurses in the past, they are just completely, they're crucial to every school, and they're a different animal. And they're always being pulled here and there, a wheelchair out on the playground, or, somebody faints in the cafeteria. So have we had any discussion with the school nurses to get a little feedback from them? I know they would love to be able to think they could actually have 30 minutes of, I can lock my door and eat my lunch in peace, but because of the unique job description that they have. But I think it's obviously, this is on the discussion agenda, but it would be interesting to know what their thoughts would be, because again, it's unlike everything else that we have in schools. So
I'm fortunate to work with Dr. Harris and Nurse Stanek in terms of supporting this in school already, and Dr. Harris can chime in, but we've already put in place the unencumbered time to the fullest extent practical within our district. So in terms of practice, this is something that we're already doing based on feedback from nurses. It's just something that in writing, we want to right size, but I'd welcome Dr. Harris if you'd like to comment some things there.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Turner, and thank you for the question, Mr. Satterfield. And Dr. Turner is exactly right. This year was the first year that we began to consider nurses, give consideration to nurses for some duration of unencumbered time. In most cases, we try to make it very similar to what teachers currently have. So again, this is just an opportunity in which to make certain that they are also included and counted in the policy that the district has.
Mr. Boehner?
Is it possible for principals, assistant principals to take some sort of basic first aid CPR if it's not already required to act as a gap in coverage if that's our last option?
That's one of the considerations that I would feel more comfortable with the experts weighing in on what it takes to cover the responsibilities of the nurses. Informally, we've discussed what it would take, and we know that their skill is something that can't easily be substituted, so we are cautious of that. But if you want to speak to it from a professional standpoint, Dr. Harris, I'd appreciate that.
There are some things that administrators and, or in some instances, teachers might be able to assist with the nurses. So there are opportunities throughout the course of the year where there may be some level of training that's provided individually, maybe in small group form, just kind of contingent upon what's really happening and where the greatest needs are, where we would in fact excuse me, exercise that right to train persons who are administrators and or teachers. So some of that does take place along the course of the year.
Anybody else? All right, thank you, Dr. Turner.
You're welcome.
I move that we adjourn.
Do I have a second? All in favor? And the motion carries. Everybody have a good night. We are adjourned.